the host of Education is the Best Medicine. Ms. Barbara Howard. Her host is the Eyes of the Conscious Mind. It's our host program, and I want to thank her for hosting the Medicine Hour as well as Education is the Best Medicine. Barbara, I'd like you to come and say a few words and kind of get us started.
Okay, well, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Believe Radio. We are bringing you a new show called The Eyes of the Conscious Soul, and with that, we have for this evening the Medicine Hour. For the month of March, we will be honoring Black women, highlighting Harriet Tubman's birthday. Some say she was born between 1820 to 1825. This year, she would be 200 years old. We have chosen the theme for this month, and it is Black woman, you have the birth of humanity in your DNA. Research Lucy, a 3.2 million year old fossil skeleton of a human ancestor. And again, you have tuned in to the Eyes of the Conscious Soul on Believe Radio. We are hosting the Medicine Hour with the host, Mr. George Pearson. I am his co-host. And thank you for allowing me to share, Mr. Howard. But before we get started, this is where we believe a better tomorrow starts with us. Topics we cover: health issues and concerns, healthy eating habits, education, finance, and politics in the African American community. We believe taking care of our temple, mind, and spirit is essential to having mental health, wellness, healthy eating habits, and knowing that healthy thinking leads to a healthy way of living. We come to you every second Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Take it away, Mr. Pearson.
Well, I want to say, first of all, thank you. And we had talked about our first show.
Yes, sir.
And we thought it would be appropriate for our first show to be women's, not in terms of women's history, but particularly a discussion around of African American women in history as well as in health. Mm-hmm. And we also talked about that subset of individuals, and we were specifically talking about African American women who are descendants of the Middle Passage. We lost 25 million people during that passage.
Wow.
And the experience of chattel slavery, as well as and also we'll be highlighting a discussion about 1619. It's a very important date.
Before we get started, can you tell a little bit about yourself and your background? So they can know that we got some powerful people in the house that you know your stuff. You've been doing this for over 40 years.
Yeah, I graduated from Stanford's PA program in 1982. And
I can't hear you, Mr. Pearson.
I graduated from Stanford in 1982. And but prior to that, I always tell people it's not where you end up, it's probably where you came from and how you got there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a product of Oakland Public Schools. I'm very proud to be a product of Oakland. It's one of all the places I've traveled in, I've always had to return. Mm-hmm. And that's because it's a city of us, a city of our birth, a city of the Black Panthers, a city of
all right now.
The Pullman Porters named George. And
I wonder where you got the name from.
And so, born in Highland Hospital, mm-hmm. and I think it's kind of unique that I was thinking about as I was driving here, and it was a discussion about how does a young African American who was placed in special education for 5 to 6 years of his education and then kicked out of school in the 9th grade, mm-hmm. who had the 10th grade had to go to well, they would not accept me elsewhere else but McClymonds High School. Wow. That's why I'm excited about that. But prior to that, I had to go back. I had lost credits, so I had to go to I had to go to college.
Hmm.
So it was the only opportunity afforded to me, which is kind of interesting. As I, as an African black man, get kicked out of uh, school but can get into college. So I took an English course and a weightlifting course, and took a series of courses. And when the only school that would accept me was McClimon's High School, and so I was
Thank
accepted.
God for McClymonds.
Oh, it's if you don't know McClimon's High School, and I'm sure you do, but you should. It's one of the premier high schools. They only had about 800 students, maybe less than 200 now. In terms of the senior class was always small, so we always had to fight. But it's the school of Bill Russell and the school of a number of influential African Americans, and I'm proud to be from there. And so,
Championships too. You guys
oh
win.
yeah, yeah,
Even
and
now, the young men
yeah,
are
their
champions.
high school team has just been
Yeah.
absolutely awesome. And
Hmm.
I wrestled for Hop McClimus and was a city champion, which is kind of funny. Again, we were always, I guess the issue is that people wanted to bully us, but we wouldn't let them bully us.
Mm.
And so, we were a small school, but big in heart, big in character, and so that's what it taught me a lot.
Hmm.
The teachers knew you, and
Yes.
they humanize
Family. Yeah.
a family
Family.
humanize you. So
Yeah.
when you wonder about what's going wrong with education, it's
Hmm.
not that kids can't learn; they don't feel human in those schools, and sometimes even the places they think should be safe are now becoming places where they don't feel safe.
Hmm.
So I ended up. Uh, the interesting thing about going to college and high school is that your units become more than if you were going to high school. So when I got to McClymonds, I had enough units to graduate my junior year,
Wow.
and I like the environment of college. I
Hmm.
like the
Hmm.
the things that are going on, and that's why we have to talk about structural and institutional racism, not just in medicine but in education,
Hmm.
because we've been treated like it's our fault, and it has
Absolutely.
not been our fault. It's been the cards we've been dealt. And so I went to I graduated. I could have graduated a year earlier, but I wanted to play sports, and had a great time. We beat the number 3 team in the state at that time, which was Fremont, in the city at the time, which was Fremont High School, and it was one of those classic David and Goliath battles, and
Wow.
I was able to. Again, I remember those things because they kind of cemented the relationships of the folks that are a very small group of black men that a
Hmm.
number of them have gone. A number of them went through things, but they
Right.
were a group of men that I loved, and they loved me, and then we were kind of outcasts, and so unfortunately, but it was good, So,
And
um,
what school, college did you go
oh
to?
well, Merritt College,
Hmm.
and I guess I would say that people
Colleges.
that don't believe they should go back to school and increase their skills and learn a little bit more. We're in a lifelong learning environment, and so one of the things that I was taught about in college was that if you fall, you can really get up if you
Hmm.
choose to get up. So at that time, I was a single parent and had to raise uh, my son, and I didn't have any options. I had to do better. I had to take care of him,
Hmm.
and it's interesting. I always say it's discussions around why I'm here is that a lot of discussions around change and transition and growth, and that's
Hmm.
what black men and black people have had to do. We
Hmm.
have to change, transition, and grow, and even in an environment now that speaks to discussions around why 50 men would want to approve Juneteenth as a holiday, a federal holiday, but take away your right to vote.
Hmm.
So it lends itself to a lot of discussions about, our place in this country, 3/5 of a human being, last time I checked in the
Come on
Constitution.
now.
And so we have to kind of align ourselves not with why people are acting this way, why are we just understanding that's in reality how they feel,
Hmm.
you know?
And you went to married and then the
So I
other.
went to Merritt College, and only place I graduated honors there. I got an A
Okay.
in math and science, and it was kind of
So black people love science too and
of
math.
course, of
Okay,
course,
go
of
ahead.
course. Well, I think that what
Wait, before you go there,
yeah.
completing with the other schools,
Well,
before we get into the discussion.
well. then it became a discussion about, I almost flunked out my first year at Stanford,
Oh.
and it was really, really intense. It was a different environment. You have to understand, I'm a young African American black man
Hmm.
who Stanford liked to study things, and so they
Hmm.
figured they wanted to study and see if a young African American, with reasonable skills, could get through a program like this. And I would say to you always that the idea is that I would not.
Hmm.
And when I did, then again, it shatters the stereotypes about us. They didn't have
Absolutely.
that many more black folks go to school up until the last couple of years now. But it
Mm.
always been a discussion that there weren't why there weren't enough of us in these particular professions is because you have to be accepted into the profession and then allowed to be grown into it and fostering that kind of thing. It's kind of like a lot of my colleagues and the physicians I work with, man, they were by themselves and they had to work by themselves, and that's what caused a lot of the burnout. But got to merit, and
You mean
graduate.
Stanford?
Well, got to merit, and then
Got to marry.
graduated.
Okay.
And the time in between there, I applied to this PA program at Stanford, and they said, "Well, you can do doctor stuff, and you'll be able to do this." And I'm going like, It's
Hmm.
interesting that I was just looking at Ebony magazine in 1982 described being physician assistants as a career black men could go into, along with computer science, a whole bunch of things. But it has been that I didn't believe I was going to get in.
Hmm.
It was a 2 hour, it was a 3 hour, it was almost 2.5 hour interview where I met with her, Ruth Stark. She was the program coordinator. Ryan Garcia was the PhD uh, psychologist in the program, and the program director was uh, Jenny Fox, a little
Hmm.
perky white female who just wanted the best for everybody. And that's what
Hmm.
I felt. And that was the environment I got grew into. It was a little bit rough, but I got past my first year, and the rest is history. Then I go to, I want to get another degree. So I go to UCSF and get a degree in organizational behavior because I want to understand systems change, which is what we're going through right now. We're going through systems change.
Absolutely.
And so that put me through, and my basic practice has been primary care, family practice, addiction medicine, trauma based care, and dealing with folks that most of my patients can't afford to see me.
Yeah.
They are at risk. English is a second language, and I mean English is a second language. Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Russian, Arabic, Hindi, uh, those kinds of languages. And so it's always a unique dynamic to meet people where they're at and have discussions. And that's what I've been able to do through my career. And it's been interesting. Went through a couple of epidemics, the HIV epidemic in the 19, I can't believe I'm talking about this like this, in 1982. And then
Ooh.
on with the, what we have now was the opiate epidemic and the, gun violence epidemic, which is
Mm.
has touched me and my family and and I
Yeah.
lost my grandchild just about 6 weeks ago. And we're going to talk about that
Yeah.
because some of the interesting things around gun violence is that women that are murdered by guns know their accuser. 68% of women murdered by gun violence, and there seems to be a lackadaisical attitude to having someone that might want to kill that person, a female, have a gun. So it's another discussion.
Right.
And that's kind of where we're at now.
Well, we thank you for giving sharing the information on your background. We're partners in good things, not partners in crime. We're
Yeah,
partners in good things. So
yeah,
I am so grateful and thankful to be your co-host and on the Medicine Hour, and we created that together.
yeah.
It's about, like we were saying, to empower and encourage African Americans and talk about who we are as a race and the things that we've been through and the things that we are continue to going through and the histories that we've made and all of that good stuff. But I'll let you go ahead and share what we're going to be discussing today.
Well, as we thought that Women's History Month is really world history and
Come
definitely
on now,
American
tell the
History
truth.
Month. And so on the same is International Women's Day. And again, this is a long overdue celebration of women, and I would like to dedicate this show to our mothers, and particularly the women and mothers in Ukraine who are dealing with so much. That's why the colors today, the blue and the gold, that's their country's colors. It got me to thinking about, we talk about, famous black women, Sojourner Truth and Coretta Scott King, but in reality, there are more women, and some women that the Smithsonian has interviewed and put on their website. When you type in black women, it was Amanda Smith. She was an orator and an evangelist.
Oh, wow.
Dr. Ruth Temple, she was a leading public health figure in practice in East Los Angeles. And again, as you said, we are tuned to Believe You Radio, and thank you, Believe Radio, for providing the space for us to have this discussion.
Absolutely.
And there's Renee Stout. She's an artist using several mediums for painting and photography. Again, you can search these women on the Smithsonian Institute website. I encourage you to go look at it. It's interesting. Barbara Jordan. If you don't know Barbara Jordan, political woman, and lawyer, outspoken advocate for, and she was a keynote speaker at the Democratic Convention in 1992. And then there's Miss Mary Lee Smith. She was a captain in public health. Get this issue that women of color are women of service. They are going to unique roles and unique areas to make and impact a difference. That's why we honor them this month, and this year, and every day. My mother.
That's right. And your mom's name?
Vashti Smith.
Vashti Smith and
Your mom?
Mrs. Howard,
Okay.
Ernestine Howard.
And if you get a chance, you just send a message up to the women that you love and the mothers that you love.
Yes.
Some more women on the Smithsonian were Sonia Sanchez. She was a poetess and prominent member of the Black Arts Movement.
Oh.
And another group of women are they're called the Native daughters. They are the Native daughters, and they tell stories of hope and resistance in the late 17th, 18th, 19th centuries about women of color. Thought it was really interesting. And another is Lynette Janssen, who's a fifth generation basket weavers. And basket weaving, if you look at our culture and particularly in slavery, are very important. It housed food. It was carried. It was, again, baskets are a unique piece of our history. It's interesting that we don't talk about these women as much as we talk about the other ones, but they're just as important, just as dynamic, and deserve our
acknowledgement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, we are tuned to
the Believe Radio, a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. 24 hours, people. You have tuned in to the Eyes of the Conscious Soul with Mr. George Pearson and his co-host, Miss Barbara Howard, aka Sister B Mello. And you've joined us this afternoon on the Medicine Hour, where we will always encourage and motivate and inspire our African American people.
I wanted to take us back into a little bit of history.
Take us back. Take us back.
The National Geographic article by Robert Draper named the Black Pharaohs, and Pi, P-I-E, ruled from about 730 to 715. And at the time of his death, he had a 35-year rule. And through a series of wars, he united Lower Egypt. And it was stated that in the 25th century, in his reign, there was no racism. And that
there was no racism,
right? And that the color of a man's skin was irrelevant.
Okay. He's dead, right? No, I'm kidding.
No, of course.
Oh my goodness.
But the discussion is that, I want to take us to is that at one point in time, we understand that race is a social construct. And what do I mean by that? I mean, it's developed in particular to define you or undefine you. And so we talk about this because it's only after the European powers colonized Africa, made it colonial, which means it made it a part of their country. Particularly in the 19th century, did Western scholars pay attention to the color of a Nubian skin? So
Our
that's when
black
it became
melanin, huh?
that's when it became an issue.
Oh boy.
And
When someone else took a look at it.
well, remember it's Africa, and
Yeah.
it's resources, it's gold, it's diamonds, it's
Woo,
animals,
rich.
and if
In
you
culture and spirit.
right,
Yes.
if you reflect it to the slave trade, it is about money, it's about power, it's about control. We were just commerce, 3/5 of a human being.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I have a 501c nonprofit, and we've been going on this for like the last 25 years.
Absolutely. And the name?
It's Education is the Best Medicine.
Okay.
And
Which will be airing next Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on the Education is the Best Medicine. Yes, you'll have your show.
and we'll be carrying on more of these topics. It's just kind of get
Absolutely.
people to
Hot
get
topics.
excited about some of the things we're doing. And I just felt it was a need to
And educating.
discuss.
You
And it's,
sharing
I think we're at
information.
the intersection of health and politics and
Yes.
culture, and we're going to impact, and we try to impact the daily life of Africans Americans who are descendants of slaves. And again, we're going to really dive deep into this New York Times 1619 article by Nikki Haley Jones. If you're interested,
Say
in
it again for folks can pull it
Okay.
up.
It is the
All the information that we're sharing today, you can find it.
yeah. It's a 1690, and it's a New York Times section by Nicole, spelled Nikole, Hannah, Haanna Jones, and she puts this in perspective. She won a Pulitzer for commentary in this particular series. I want to thank the New York Times for allowing it to air. They took major hits about this particular process because I think it reflects the discussions around what we're having in regards to advanced race theory. And why that is important is that some are saying that if you always not only just read about what's positive about something, I always read about what's negative too. And what I hear about this particular series is that it does not play America's role in slavery in the proper light by which they want it viewed.
And that's been the problem.
And well, again, this is where advanced.
It's the truth coming
where
out and being shared. So
we hope that scholars would agree that facts are facts.
Okay.
It was this the 1690 project is a long form journalistic endeavor by Nicole Haley Jones, and the discussion in it, and this is from the article. I said it aims to reframe the country's history by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans to the very center of the discourse of the country. So instead of slavery being outside, this article's try to put you inside to see what was happening with us at that time. Different than, again, if you talk to most people about the education they received on slavery, in none in grade school, no, absolutely none in grade school. A little in junior high school maybe, but that's a real advanced teacher that's okay with the dialogue. Otherwise, it's not. It doesn't exist. Yeah. So, I think Miss Nicole Haley Jones needs to be put on a mountaintop somewhere because, again, it's what I say. when I've seen dynamic things happen, it has been done from the bosom of a woman.
Mm.
And we talk about in my era because this is new. It's something that I'm going to have to research also. But post traumatic slave syndrome by Dr. Joyce Corey, a dynamic article and discussion, and she's made it into a syndrome, which is not the pathology of Africans, but it was happening when you were subjected to repeated trauma. You
Mm.
know, and I have a T-shirt that says "Heal from the trauma," because that's
Mhm.
what we have to learn how to do. And part of these shows is about doing that and about understanding
Absolutely.
that. Uh, we're still Believe Radio, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Believe Radio is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. And you can visit it on your World Wide Web and on Facebook
Hmm.
and Twitter and Instagram. So please, please tune in. We have some wonderful shows. The Eyes of the Conscience Soul. I would share one of the shows that the Eyes of the Conscience Soul is bringing, not only the Medicine Hour here on Believe Radio. Every first Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., we have the Cafe Le Bleu Lounge, where there are 15 to 45-minute segments called The Corner. Each corner has a blueprint that is unique of its own. So relax, vibe out, and cool out to some cool sounds, fireside chats, and be inspired by affirmations and inspirational messages. The Cafe Le Bleu Lounge first corner is called the Artist Talk, and we showcase musicians, poets, singers, dancers, film producers, authors, comedians, gospel and R&B rappers from around the Bay Area to across the globe. They share their creative process and their lived experience. And on the second part of the corner, we have Why I Dream. We highlight and honor the inventions and creative work of today's brilliant minds, along with geniuses from our past. We are preserving African American history and culture in order to keep our legacy alive. The third corner highlights is the Golden Lights affirmation and inspirational messages, where you will hear individuals share their personal testimonies from where the Lord has brought them from and brought them through and to. Again, you are listening to Believe Radio, and we have the Eyes of the Conscience Soul with Mr. George Pearson and his co-host, Sister B. Mello, bringing to you the Medicine Hour. Go ahead, Mr. Pearson.
Well, you know, I always like to bring solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and so I want people to kind of hang with me about this. And this is just in general solutions.
Uh-huh.
It says that ask yourself to start with small goals first and progress, i.e., walking to running to activity. And we're asking people to do at least 3 to 4 levels of exercise every week, as well as, you know, move
And say that again. You said to do what?
to exercise at least 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay.
And the exercise could be walking. Really,
Okay.
really, really, really easy thing to do, as well as move to more plant-based food choices. And we'll talk about that, but just stay with me on this.
Mm-hmm.
Take time for self before you can talk. Take care of anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we need a normal blood pressure, a normal blood sugar, and normal weight.
And what is the normal blood pressure
Blood pressure right
would be?
now, normal is 130 over 70.
Mm-hmm.
But abnormal now is 140 over 90. And the numbers have changed again. And in terms of blood sugar, hemoglobin A1C should be between less than 6. The numbers are 5 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're seeing is a lot more pre-diabetes, and that's why the concern. And we're going to talk about that because
Okay.
it's really about the activity. It's about plant-based diet. It's about making healthy choices.
And you said more vegetables on the plate than the meat.
Well, most definitely, most definitely. But you know, again, you know, you can see major food chains moving to plant-based
Mm-hmm.
hamburgers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're not that far off of it. Um, want to do at least 3 to 6 glasses of water. Let's reduce the sugar and the caffeine based drinks.
And I'm
And
glad that you're sharing this information. So now that we're like sitting down all day on conference calls, on
sitting is the
the
new smoking.
right. Oh my God, say that again.
Sitting is the new smoking.
Oh my goodness. So being able to get up and be active and move around and eating the plant-based diet, like you said, will help us dealing. Go ahead.
And using some cognitive thinking,
Mm.
behavior therapy.
Hmm.
It's a one called stop. You can look this up. It says,
Stop.
right, stop, take a deep breath, let it out, then assess the situation, whatever it is. If you're
Mm.
anxious, if you're upset, if it's you're waiting in line, and then determine, is it, in some cases, are you going to be under attack or you're just upset?
Hmm.
Because one means you got to get out of there, fight or flight. If something's coming at me, Jurassic Park, right? It ain't the fact that the Tyrannosaurus Rex, is able to come through it. It's the fear of it coming, and that's anxiety. It's not something's going to happen. It's the fear of it might happen. So there's a lot of things that we have to address by just taking a deep breath, thinking about the situation, and then perceiving whether it's a threat or not, and then dealing with it, and then reassessing until you normalize the situation. Um, and let's I have to say it stopped the use of alcohol and tobacco, and
Hmm.
because it reduces risk of cancer and heart disease. Myself, an ex-drinker, yeah, I just think it's key in terms of we just find a lot of these substances put us more risk for more risky substances or just more risky behaviors. So that's what we're concerned about. I want people to understand their family history and medical conditions that could be a part of their genetics.
Hmm.
Too
Hmm.
often we don't understand, what grandpa had, or in my case, my dad had hypertension and he was a smoker. So, how does that play? We'll understand those things and then try to take behaviors to counteract them because you're not that. You can be something different.
Hmm.
And
And
that's it.
I love that we are very transparent on being able to on our shows and doing real talk, talk, tick
Mhm.
tock, okay. But doing real talk, this is what it's important because we are here to inspire, encourage, and educate our families and our people, and
Mhm.
this is how we get better. Go ahead,
Yeah.
sir.
Well, from a historical point, again, history points me to our DNA.
Ah.
And I would have to say in the beginning, we have to say Africa is a historical timeline supported by discussions in National Geographic
Mm-hmm.
that our DNA was the oldest in terms of African man and woman, and possibly uh, out of East Africa is probably where the first woman came. And her descendants,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we understand she was somewhere between, in terms of 140,000, 200,000 years
That is
old.
just amazing to me.
Yeah.
It's
And
amazing.
that the current human comes from one DNA line out of Africa.
Hmm.
And
Look it up, people.
and so
We're just not talking.
so when we talk about a power unit, we talk about the mitochondria.
Hmm.
Uh, so scientists term the phrase mitochondrial Eve as the biological answer of all humans and the mother of all humans. And her DNA had to be African.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The interesting thing about that is that only mothers can pass DNA down to children.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
although men are important,
And you guys
women
are.
pass the DNA down. So, I thought that was kind of interesting. And I want this show to be a show
Mm.
that not say, "Gee, I didn't know that," or "Wow, that's really
Food for
interesting."
thought.
Yeah. So,
Food for
so
thought.
understand now. We've only highlighted females, important
We
females,
will highlight the men.
and
They should have been first, but go ahead.
and No, but this is
Month. Okay.
Women's History Month,
History. Okay. Got
and
it.
particularly we had the subset of African American women. These are all African American women we're
Absolutely.
talking about.
Hmm.
Um, I uh, wanted to talk about a really really interesting woman. Her name is Dr. Carmen Phyllis Jones,
Hmm.
and she penned a paper called "Naming Racism."
Wow.
Now, it was a GNH, a INH grant to
Hmm.
study racism. And I bet you didn't know there was a paper that the American uh, science community supported to review racism, which is what it should have been as an honest look, and I think it was.
Hmm.
Um, and some of the things that were interesting in the paper, um, and I'll kind of go through it. She talked about dual reality and you know a restaurant saga, right? You know, you come to eat, but you can't eat. And so some of the levels of racism were institutionalized, personally mediated, and internalized. If you want to review this paper, you can put in her name and put in naming racism, and it will pop up. You can review it too.
And what was her name again?
Her name is uh, Dr. Phyllis, Dr. Karma Phyllis Jones, spelled
Okay.
Camara, Phyllis Phyllis Jones. And again, the paper was naming racism. It's
Hmm.
about man, I didn't read the date, but it's a pretty old paper. It's something that should have been talked about, but it isn't. So she defined the levels of racism as institutionalized, personalized, personally mediated, and internalized. Isn't that interesting that for us as Africans in America, our racism has had levels,
Wow.
and
Hmm.
and and so the institutional racism is defined as goods and service and opportunities of society and race. So, which in other words is that it's the structure. I go to the store and I buy something, and I'm followed because I'm a black man with a hoodie on, you
Hmm.
know. And so, and would they do that to a young white man?
No.
Hard to say. And it's codified in the structures. In that same example, the police are already on guard for watching me walk in the store to steal something, you know?
Like Mr. Ryan Coogler.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Ryan
The
Coogler. Whoever.
the one the creator of the Black Panthers when
Right.
he went in the bank
Right to get
to
some money
get his own money and giving them a sign,
Man,
and
yeah.
but there it is again.
Yeah.
When she seen the black face, I'm just saying
No, it's the money.
it was the money.
Ain't nobody got
And then when he passed the note, look, she didn't see nothing else on that note being
Oh, God.
corrected other than
God, God,
and didn't want to
God.
say that kind of that number out
So
loud. We're laughing, but it's
exactly
true.
it's
You
true.
know,
I was
it's
gonna say
true.
that. Yeah,
We're
yeah,
laughing, but and sometimes we have to laugh in order
yeah.
to stop from crying. But it's the God honest truth about what we have to deal with every day of our lives. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and so some of the characteristics of racism. So what we're going to do is build some foundational
Hmm.
issues because when we talk about health issues, it'll make sense why we have the outcomes that we have.
Hmm.
It's not that we just don't want to take care of ourselves and we want to drink and smoke and that's not it. That is the old mindset. There really is that we talk about social determinants in terms of food, clothing, and shelter. We talk about access to care. We talk about access to competent care, and this is one of the pillars, If I, as an African, I'm an originator, I am the first in a line to you, and one, you don't accept that. And secondly, you think
Hmm.
that, my best bet is that I should be a slave in America, then that doesn't bode well for what kind of health care I'm going to get.
Mm.
Just
And
doesn't.
you, with your organization and with your nonprofit, is education is the best medicine. And then that's what you share with us, is that we need to be advocates for ourselves when we go in front of the doctor.
And
And that's
understand.
why you were saying know your history and know different things that you can at least yourself
Yeah.
say, hey, and
No.
go ahead, sir.
And so we're going to come back to this, but
Yeah, because I
some
was
of the characteristics of racism are historical, legalized, persistent, normative, and they include acts of commission and omission, which means is, oh, I didn't know this was happening. Oh, you mean, gee, you had that bear in front of you? Gee, this is the first I ever heard of it. Okay.
and that's what Those,
commission and omission,
yeah,
right? It
yeah,
means that even if you don't know it, you know it's a barrier.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so anyway, and it manifests itself in racism. Again, back to racism.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of material conditions, access to power, and white privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the material conditions are housing, education, employment, income, wealth, access to healthcare. Access to healthcare. Just think about that. So now we're in a situation where, due to institutional and structural understanding of racism, we understand that even the healthcare centers are designed not to take care for us, and that's what I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Income, wealth, of course, toxic, toxic dump locations, and I would add, it plays itself out in things like homelessness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now we understand that homelessness isn't something that is an issue of your race. Again, race is a social construct. It is a discussion of lack of access.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now it's important that everybody have housing now,
Yes.
or everybody have drug treatment now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you always say food, clothing, and shelter.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
our basic needs.
Social determinants always been. It always will be. That's the difference between a poor community and a rich community.
Absolutely.
And how about this? When we look at poor communities versus, if we look at either one of those communities, we can really define how long they're going to live,
Yeah.
how they're going to die, all those kinds of things. And so she talks about white privilege as white is normal, white is superior, white is raceless, white is the sense of entitlement, invisibility of others, hypervisibility of others. So, in other words, who that white person is above everything. In fact, you can see it now that they want to be above the law.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the discussion that part of it. Some remedies have been separation, integration, self-determination, reparations. Race relation classes, right? Oh God, we're so. At the time she wrote this paper, there was always a debate about discussing race and classes,
And we still dealing with it now.
We're still dealing with it now.
We still dealing with it.
Now, which brings me to part of the health summit that I wanted to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And
boy, time flies when you're having fun.
Oh,
Gee, Willikers.
I think that it's kind of important because I think that women and health are really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about the structure of some of these healthcare systems and how they were developed. But, if, for example, in heart disease, cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of African American women. Some of the Go Red campaign is some of the information base for this. You can go read about it. And some of the things that concern me that most heart disease, as we understand, is asymptomatic. You don't have chest pain, you don't have nausea, particularly for women. Cardiovascular disease kills at least 50,000 women. And that is someone's sister, someone's grandmother, someone's mother, someone's aunt, someone's partner, someone's niece, someone's daughter. And we see an increase of age 20 older in women. 49% develop heart disease and don't know it. Only 58% are aware that are the signs of heart disease, how you will have a heart attack, how you have a stroke, what signs, what would go to the hospital. The story that I gave, and I was thinking about this morning, is that I've had women who have called me and they have taken their husbands to work, dropped the kids off, walked the dog, and need to go to the ER because they're having a heart attack.
Jesus. Wow.
Which means that what we're talking about in this women's health again is back that if Black women of color don't take care of themselves, they can't take care of anyone else.
Absolutely.
So
and Black women and around the world, we just want you to be mindful that you are important to us, and please take care of yourself. And self-care is the key.
This is true. Only 1 in 5 women women of color believe they're at risk for heart disease.
Wow.
1 in 5. 1 in 5. That's an amazing statistic. this is we're not we're in 2022. You don't believe you can have a heart attack or a stroke?
And
Come
you see
on.
this every
Every oh
day
god, yeah.
of
You know,
being in your practice, the work you do.
And the children are hypertension, diabetes. It has to be
Mm.
treated. It has to be normalized. Um,
So what can they cut back on? What can a mom
well,
cut back on for the kids
in the
and for
risk
themselves?
issue, you gotta learn CPR.
Oh,
You
geez.
know, you gotta listen to Believe Radio.
Absolutely. Which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station that brings to you programs like this, The Eyes of the Conscience Soul. You are here with Mr. Pearson, George Pearson, and his co-host, Sister B. Mello, aka Barbara Howard. But we're here bringing to you on the Medicine Hour. We're hoping and praying that you will be inspired and encouraged and educated, and on what you should do for yourself and for your family, and how we can make ourselves better.
That's why I gave the answers first.
Ah,
You already have the answers to
okay.
this.
So it's
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
inside of
yeah,
us.
yeah,
There's
like,
no
no,
way
no, no, no.
we don't have to look on the
No, no, no,
outside,
no.
just inside.
Earlier, I gave them the reasons. I gave them like 10 things to do
Okay.
because
Okay.
all
And
these
those 10
things.
things were again.
Oh, okay. Let's go back. See. Go back. Go back. All right.
Well, the
Go
10
on.
things I remember was working out, at
Yeah.
least walking,
So,
eating.
ask yourself to start with small goals first.
Ask yourself to start with small goals first.
Example: if you're going to be more active, start with walking
Okay.
before you run.
Okay.
All right. Start slow.
Start
But
slow.
at least do it 3 to 4 times a day. And again, plant-based food choices.
Okay.
Yeah. Take time to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else.
That breathing was
Stop.
Stop. Remember the word.
STOPP.
Remember the word stop.
Search it. You can search all these
ladies.
things too.
Okay, good.
We strive for normal blood pressure and normal blood sugar and normal weight. And we're going to talk about these things in depth because I think it's just so important. Hydration, 36 glasses of water.
Gotta
We're going
drink
to get
the
away from the
water.
sugar and the
Should
caffeine.
we have fruit in the water, or should we just have basic, just regular water?
You can. The lemon, it's just kind of common. But,
Okay.
when you put in the nutrients and the protein drinks and all that kind of stuff, kind of messes the water up.
Ah.
So we talked about stop. Say, understand your family history and the conditions that could be a part of your genetics. Don't use alcohol, tobacco, and because they're major risk factors.
What about salt? Because we love to put salt on our
I
food.
just thought about that too. In terms of salt, read the labels. You need less than a half teaspoon of salt. You got to stay away from processed. Yeah, stay away from processed salt because something in salt seems to change our genes, and it makes raises our blood pressure. Someone, if you watch the movie Sankofa, I did never see it. They have a white substance along with the increment and the urine that they had the stowaways. The enslaved stowaways eat salt, hydrate them, so that
that
have less
trickled
water.
down to us. That's generational.
Or of course in our kidney disease.
Yeah.
So one of the big things with us also is kidney disease, diabetes, kidney disease. We're really high in dialysis and liver transplantation issues. So yeah. The other thing that I thought was really important, we got like what 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Was cancer.
Oh my!
And this is a WebMD article in 2000, and it says research shows that cancer is a greater risk than white women of dying from, and black women are dying from a handful of cancers. In other words, white women and black women get cancer, but black women are more likely to die from it. Wow. Take home message again: the treatment is to get screened, know your genetics, and because we've had the pandemic, we've had less contact with the healthcare system, and that's okay by them because a lot of them are getting out because they don't want to do healthcare anymore. There's burnout. It really is. It's an issue. The pandemic has brought to bear a lot of the inequities in the system. A higher, I think that I know over my 30 years, you have to deal with the family history and recommend timely screening. And one of the issues is that, as Dr. Carmen Jones talks about, institutional structural racism and external and internal race barriers to our care. So you got to get screened, change lifestyle, walk plant-based diet. The four most common cancers And first of all, I want to thank historically Henrietta Lacks. Her cancer cells are the source of what's called immortalized cells. Her cells are immortal. And it's a hell of a line that has been used, everything from polio, to even everything that's going on now that has to do with cells. Her line is involved. And she was just a simple black female tobacco farmer.
Wow.
We're going to talk about some of the issues that happened. She died of cervical cancer, and the im- we'll talk about her,
Okay.
and because you need to understand how powerful she was as a black woman, and the family too, and why we have some of the issues with health. Going to the doctor because you don't think you can go to the doctor and have your cells taken and used for
Jesus.
something that you have no knowledge about, and then told that they're making millions of dollars out of it. So the institution was John Hopkins. Since then, has apologized. I don't know what the resolution was, but they hopefully they did it. Breast cancer is a very common cancer. It needs early detection. All these things, early detection,
So,
survival.
women, we need you again. Early detection. We have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves.
71% versus 87% of white women um, uh, there are identified, and also survival. Again, and I add in English as a second language, and just lastly taking care of themselves. And what happens with women, black women in cancer, it's caught late and it's spreading, and so just the idea of catching it early will resolve it in terms of a better outcome, a 5-year outcome. Again, we suggest back to that low fat diet and plant based diet. I think it's something hormonal that happens with women and breasts, so that's why we're trying to move women to more plant based diets. The meat, a lot of steroids like antibiotics, they're just getting in and out, but still was a lot. So a lot of women probably got cancer that shouldn't. Colorectal cancer, again, it's getting screened. Colonoscopy. They have the fecal test, but you just got to get screened. Do your homework. Understand, issues.
So, empower yourself.
Exactly. And the other
Okay.
one, lung cancer, third most common, most prevalent for women who uh, who smoke. But again, I've seen it when women not smoke. It's called secondhand smoke. And again, it's hard because women are vaping now, and
Oh,
a lot of
yeah.
this has to do with access to money and stuff like tobacco and alcohol. That's why I say you got to stop it. That causes cancer. Um, and the good thing about cervical cancer is that early screening prevents. Um, but again, that's why I want to thank Henrietta Lacks.
Mm. Wow. Once again, you are tuned in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. You have the Eyes of the Conscience Soul bringing to you the Medicine Hour every second Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And next week we have Education is the Best Medicine with the founder and producer, Mr. George Pearson. You can hear more information regarding the Education is the Best Medicine. Um, Education is the Best Medicine is a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization, which is community based, health education advocacy based, and resource based organization that uses public media, social resources, newspapers, church based community health fairs to provide information and education, like we're doing here on Believe Radio. We believe vision is the art of seeing things yet unseen and bringing light to a very dark world. That's what Education is the Best Medicine is all about. Every fourth Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. is the Community Voices, hosted by your very own Miss Barbara Howard, aka Sister B. Mello, founder and producer of the Eyes of the Conscience Soul. We talk with individuals, organizations, community leaders, business owners from around the Bay Area and across the globe, that are making a difference in our community. Again, we are dedicating this show to phenomenal women. We love you. We thank you. We appreciate you because your DNA is important to us. And again, Black women, you have the birth of humanity in your DNA. Go ahead, Mr. Pearson.
Well, I'm going to end this show with a poem.
Oh,
Yeah. The
okay.
book is called Loving Black Women.
All
It's by
right. You may have
Larry
to do two poems. I think we
Akali
may have enough time for
Johnson
two or
Reed.
three. Okay.
And it says here, tribute to all African women. Some think we're not it. Some think
Mm.
we're not up to it. This is a tribute to all Black women. You've been our very best friend, sharing identity, walking with us through history, walking out of slavery, sharing our destiny. This is a tribute to all African women. You've always been our very best friend. Together, we are family. We
Yeah.
are not enemies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We
And
are
I.
together like
Mm-hmm.
birds and bees. Every
Mm-hmm.
time we spoke, we are the same folk. You are the best lovers for me and my brothers. Never ever forget. Please unite us together, all of us, our sister and brother. This is a tribute to all Black women. You have always been our best friend. You are a work of art. You are a queen of heart. You are the roots we need, the pillar of our creed. This is a tribute to all African women. You've always been our best friend.
Oh, God bless you,
Okay.
Mr. Pearson. And we thank you for that heartfelt message. And I see the tears in your eyes and I hear it in your voice. We just want to say, as another Black woman to a Black man, we love you all too. And we thank you
Yep.
for what you do. We will continue to hold you up, push you up, and do whatever we can to make our families, our loved ones, our partners, to support you all in all that you do because we need you too. And we thank you for that beautiful, beautiful poem. You have another one in there.
Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's go.
And thank you
Okay.
for honoring us. We really appreciate
Okay.
that.
Okay. Here's one.
Okay.
Okay. Larry, thank you very much wherever you are. Uh, when you see her walking, when you see her talking, let me tell you, mister, that's the beauty of a sister.
All right.
Think about her wit, check out her mind. What you will find, our sister is one of a kind. Like a hurricane, stronger than a twister. Strength and integrity is in the beauty of a sister. Walking through history, sharing with us our destiny, like a sun, no, the moon. She is covered in mystery. So many shades of beauty to our race, a sense of beauty in so many shapes. A sister's beauty escapes, that is a shade that never ever fades. Let me tell you, mister, she's stronger than a twister. Stand up if you agree with the beauty of a sister.
All right. Now, what's his name? Thank you, Mr. Larry. We
Wait.
appreciate that. Go. Oh, it ain't
Okay.
done. Oh,
Say,
finish it on now.
please do not bleach her. Please do not mistreat her. Talking to you, my brother, about the beauty of a sister. She's rough and dainty and sweet. She's bounced on her feet. I'm not talking about the twister. I'm talking about the beauty of a sister.
All right. You have tuned into Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational gospel music station. We just want to say again, thank you for tuning in to the Eyes of the Conscious Soul this evening. This afternoon, we brought to you the Medicine Hour that comes to you live every second Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. We just want to say again, thank you for tuning in. And definitely check us out. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul also brings to you every first Saturday of the month. That is called the Cafe Le Bleu Lounge. And then on the second Saturday of the month, again, we have the Medicine Hour. And then on the third Saturday of the month, we have Education is the Best Medicine. And then on the fourth Saturday of the month, we have Community Voices. Go ahead, Mr. Pearson.
Well, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity for Eyes of the Conscious mind supporting us. We hope to expand the brand, and I hope for Lee to please give a listen when you have a chance. We'll try to keep things interesting and dynamic, and always trying to provide food for thought. Again, visions are seeing things yet unseen, and we are definitely trying to bring light to a very dark world. Thank you for having me.
And you're welcome. Thank you for tuning in to Believe Radio, a 24 hours inspirational and gospel music show. You again have tuned in to the Eyes of the Conscious Soul on Believe Radio. We thank you for tuning in to us. God bless you and good night. See you next Saturday.